You ever thought to yourself, why is it that I'm just an average musician? Maybe you're a high school student and you're like, why I'm just another player in the crowd and I'm not standing out. People are not recognizing that I'm a great player. Well, maybe we need to find out. Maybe we need to dig deeper today. Coming up. Welcome to Being Taught. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you're here. This is a place that you can come to as a developing musician, someone who maybe wants to become a player and play in a band or go out and play on your own. Maybe you're going to become a professional musician in some capacity. If that's you, this is the right place. I've been doing this a long time. I kind of set aside my career as a musician, raising a family. I was a music director, and I've come back to it at 55, and I'm making my push on my musical piece. But along the way, I'm trying to help you as the developing musician see if we can help you so that you can get to the things that you want to get to as well. I want you to be you. I'm busy being Todd, so you stay busy being you, all right? So today, we're talking about why is it that you feel like you're just an average musician? And I hear this from high school students. They're like, oh, I've been working really hard, and why am I not getting better? I don't understand why I'm not the musician that I was hoping to be. Well, let's break it down, and let's start to look at why it is that maybe you're just an average player. All right, well, to start off with, do you really know your instrument very well? Let's face it, as a young developing musician, and maybe you're not in high school, maybe you just picked up an instrument on your own and you decided, man, it'd be awesome to be in a band, or it'd be awesome to just be able to play something. Well, it's awesome, and maybe you've been doing it for a while, but you're kind of like stuck and you're wondering, why is that? Let's figure out why. Number one, when you pick up your instrument, are you just wiggling your fingers so that you're looking cool? You know, oh, look at this, man. You know, you're just doing all this silliness. You're just wiggling your fingers, basically, and that's a common complaint of young musicians. They think that if on their solo part that they just wiggle their hands really fast or do what they think is their scale, that they're going to get there. Well, that's not how you get better. You got to know and have command of your instrument. So my first thing to say is that don't wiggle your fingers. Learn the fundamentals of your instrument. Know your instrument inside out. What are all the notes on the neck of your guitar or your bass? If you're a horn player, do you know how to do alternate fingerings of various things on your instrument? Can you play high? Can you play low? Can you play all those things? If you can't, that's your to-do list of things to begin on. Second of all, scales. Now, scales, if you just play scales, you're going to get stuck and you're going to be an average player. But you have to know what they are, and you have to have a command of being able to play them. Scales in thirds and fourths and fifths, you need to be able to play arpeggios and just be able to do it right off the top of your head and make it as easy as possible. So if you're not doing that, that's probably holding you back. Now, number three, now this may not be for everybody, but I really believe that if you want to be a developing, competent musician, then you really need to spend some time reading. Sight reading music, learning to take a piece of music and prepare it. Even if you're in a rock band, if you take a piece of music and you learn to read, you're going to find pieces within any piece of music you learn, whether it be classical, jazz, or country, whatever. You're going to learn pieces within learning that piece of music that you're going to say, wow, that is a really cool lick. I might apply that to my playing later on. Next on the list is something I think people really overlook. If you're a developing musician, and maybe you're even taking lessons, I'm going to ask you the question, have you actually really tried to become an expert in the fundamentals of your instrument? If you're a guitar player, bass player, are you keeping your fingers low over the neck? Are you playing good picking? Are you making good sound? Are your notes long? Those seem like simple things, but I can tell you 100 guitar players who've come to me, they've started to learn and they haven't listened to their teachers about playing fundamentally sound. It's boring. I know it's super boring, but it's really important. Some of the greatest players in the world, they'll go to get a lesson with another prodigy type of player, and that prodigy player will talk to the expert player who's getting the lesson, and say, all right, let's just practice breathing. Let's just practice playing whole notes. And the people are like, well, what are you talking about? Why do I need to learn that? because fundamentals matter. If you haven't got a good solid foundation to your playing, if you don't warm up and be really good at the fundamentals, then when you start to play really difficult things, you're going to suck. And you don't want to suck, so learn your fundamentals. Okay, another thing. If you want to improve as a musician and you want to be above the people around you, can you learn to, if you're trying to learn a part, you need to be able to sing the part you're trying to learn, then play it. Now, a lot of people don't do that. Like, I don't want to sing out loud. I don't like the sound of my voice, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's all crap. You need to learn to listen to a song, and you listen to it intently. And if you need to use a tool like the Amazing Slow Downer or other tools where you can slow down a song, you need to be able to sing every single pitch, and then you can put it to your fingers and start to play it. And that's a really important thing. So learn to sing and play. Another thing, often young musicians, as they're developing, they're not listening to what they're playing. So if you don't have the ability to hear what you're doing and how it sounds while you're doing it, well, then maybe what you need to do is get a camera. Get yourself, or set up your cell phone, set it up on a rock behind you or whatever, and record yourself and see what it sounds like. And then you got to be brutally honest with yourself. You got to listen, you got to evaluate. Am I playing, does it sound like what I just heard on the record that I'm trying to play? Probably not. And that's okay. I think recording yourself with something like a nice camera, a whatever cell phone, there's some links in the description. You can go look at some of those cameras. It didn't matter. You just need something that can capture and hear how you play and then be able to evaluate. And if you're not listening to yourself and evaluating yourself, then you are likely going to be stuck where you're playing for a long, long time. I recommend recording and listening to yourself at least once a week so you can really determine how you sound. Okay, another thing that people often overlook here when they're learning an instrument, and primarily with stringed instruments, they can be violin, viola, cello, but a lot of other things too, percussion, and I'm speaking specifically now of guitar players, bass players, is the use of muscle memory. Now, what do I mean by muscle memory? Muscle memory is the thing that when you start to play an instrument, and let's say you're playing a guitar, and as you put your hands on the neck and you start to play in a certain way, we're talking about learning to use your hands fundamentally in such a way that you do it enough times that it becomes memory to your hands. So early on in my career, I was playing at the university, and the director there, I was playing a fretless bass, and he was dogging me about playing out of tune. And so I had to practice playing in tune scales for hours and hours and hours. And in doing that, as I would do it, and I would make the slides and whatever I would do, I wanted to make sure that it was perfect. And if it wasn't perfect, I would take my hand off the instrument, I would shake my hand, and then I would do it again. And I would do it until it became automatic. And you want to be able to make some of these things automatic. How you move your hands, how you use your mouth, so that you're not concentrating. That's that muscle memory that's going to remember how to play your instrument better. The more you do that, and especially guitar players, one of the biggest hazards for a guitar player getting better is somebody who's always looking down at their instrument. And they're always looking at the neck. They're doing this. Well, two things. Number one, it says that you don't have command of your instrument. Now, there's times when you do need to look when you're doing something maybe technical, but not all the time, and most of the time I'd say you don't. If you've got command of your instrument, you shouldn't have to worry about looking at your hands. You look at some of the great players of the world, they've got their head up and they're just playing. And that's not just because they're prodigies, that's because they've done their homework. And their muscle memory takes over, so their hands are executing the mechanics of what they're doing without having to think about it. And that's what you want to do to improve as a musician. Make things so that many of the things that you do are automatic. You need to do that. Okay, another thing. I often will ask musicians if they're stuck, and they'll say, well, I practice the 30 minutes a day that you told me to practice in my lesson. Well, good. But in my mind, as a teacher and as someone who wants to see somebody improve as a musician, and if you're serious about becoming a better player, 30 minutes a day is not going to really do it. You will get slightly better, but if you're really interested in improving yourself and getting out of the average, when you see somebody say 30 minutes, then you may want to think about a couple hours a day on it. I mean, especially if you're stuck in a rut. You've got to break through a lot of those habits. You've got to break through so that you start to play more dynamically. And that doesn't work unless you're putting the hours in. Putting lots of time on the instrument more than anything else is going to improve your playing. And you can't just expect, well, I did my 30 minutes a day. No, that's not going to do it. So lots more time on your instrument. Probably one of the things that I find really interesting when people will say, I want to be a better musician, and I'll ask them, well, who are you playing with? Well, I just play in the basement. I just play for myself. Now, if you're a classical pianist, I understand that. If you want to be a solo instrumentalist, solo singer, I suppose that's okay without any accompaniment. But if you're going to really improve as a musician, it's super important that you learn to play with other people and you play with a lot of people as much as you can. You don't want to go out there and just think, well, this is going to be the perfect band for now. If you can put it in your mind that you're just going to play with a lot of people, you're going to just get together and just start jamming. You're going to call up a group of players and you say, let's play through these 3 or 4 pieces of music and just see what happens. That's good learning for you to play with other musicians. You want to understand the dynamics of give and take with tempo and volume and all those things. So play with lots of other people. Along with that, and this is really important, and this is a hard thing for people to understand, but I think is one of the most important things to really reaching new heights in your playing and becoming a better musician. And that is, you want to seek, when you try to get into new groups, you want to seek to be the worst player in the band. Todd, what the hell are you talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have found that when I have played in various groups, especially really good groups, I want to work so hard that when I do an audition, that I am the best auditioner who auditions, even if I'm not the best player. I do that audition, I win that audition, then I find out I'm the worst player in the band. What I know from that is that scares the hell out of me, and it motivates me to work really hard to become better. And as I come out of the backside of that group, I am a better musician. And that should be your goal as well. If you're the best musician in the band, you're not going to get better. Guaranteed, you're just going to slide down to the level of people around you. So really seek to play with good people when you can. And then finally, honestly, most everything that I've talked about in this video today, it comes down to, are you going to learn to practice better? I find most people who have got a serious practice routine that they do, they don't really have a good, smart, intelligent approach to getting better. Now, I've given you 8 or 9 things here that you can do to help you become a better player. But you need to have a plan, and you need to think and be analytical and analyze how you play. And you need to set goals for yourself throughout the day so that you practice smarter and you become a more competent musician. You can say, I started here on Monday, and on Friday, I'm going to be down here that I've learned 3 new ways to play this scale, or 3 new hand positions the way I'm going to do this, or 3 new melodic patterns that I'm going to play on my horn, or I'm going to learn 3 new patterns on my drum set that I've never learned before, and I'm going to get them under my chops so that I can play them with never making a mistake on it. You have to make sure that you're telling yourself, this is where I was, and this is where I want to go, and I'm going to put that to work in what I'm doing. And I'm going to listen along the way with my camera and make that happen. Well, I hope these tips are helpful to you. This is the key stuff that's going to make you a better musician. I want you to be better. I really, really do. And the way you get better is that you use your head and you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. It's what I do. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm practicing hard. I'm playing a lot of bass right now. I'm playing a lot of guitar right now. I'm writing a lot right now. The only way you get better, the only way you're going to find out what your voice is, whether it be a guitar or a horn, whatever it is that you got to put in the time, the effort to say that I'm going to become a better player. And it needs to be said that you don't really ever reach a place and say, I'm finally done being a musician. No, you're going to find you're going to be a learning musician for the rest of your life. And it's a lot of fun when you get that mindset. Being a learning, competent musician at your craft here. Well, I hope this has been very, very helpful to you. I am glad that you're here on our channel. I'd love to know your comments too about what you've done to improve as a musician. So put that in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you come back and see what we're doing here as we pursue better musicianship, as we pursue the better band. Until next time, I'm Todd. I'm 6'3", 220, cut like a piece of granite, and I'm out.